less than a month ago that you were running for the FIFA presidential election for 2023, which is going to happen in March. What's the progress from that? What's been happening since then?
Well, let me just give you kind of a background why, first of all, I wanted to run. And that's not started a month ago, because you don't start a month ago.
Of course.
It started already in 2015, when we all know 2015, the whole FIFA was collapsing, really from major corruption, including, of course, we have major dispute about the Qatar World Cup in the same time. At that time, I had from very major decision makers at the time asking me to go into the race at the time, because first of all, let me just come back, I'm not just an ex-football player at the same time. I'm born and grew up in Switzerland. I had economics and banking, finance, education. I went into London of City as well, have my own fund and asset management as well for nearly 20 years. So in terms of merging the two industries, the football economics and the technical football side, it was very, very good merge. And that's what these decision makers I saw in me. And on top of that, I don't have any file. I can put my hands up and say, well, I'm not corrupt, let's call it that. You know?
Can't find anything on you.
Can't find anything. And I, first of all, thought about it. Because, well, we are talking about one of the major positions in football, but the major position in making changes. And I was very lucky, like him, so we played one of the most beautiful games. Since a very young boy, we had the dream, and we played at the top leagues. I played in Cagliari, the Swiss national team, the Euro 96, Tottenham, winning the medals with Celtic as well. All of that was beautiful. It was given to me as a young boy, and I actually lived the dream. And I came out of the game because I had this chance, but also I had the chance with Switzerland have education, with that saying, I want to give something back, because I have the knowledge from the grassroots point of view, coming through it, where that's very hard, for whatever background you're coming into it, to the top, to go to the Premier League. So that was one of the major thoughts of what do I actually want to do in this position, because that's very key. And when the decision maker was sitting down with me, and he said, well, ask the question them first, not me. And then ask myself, am I ready and fit for such a position? And then I thought, yes, I'm more than fit for such a position, because I bring not just the knowledge from the game, but also the knowledge within the business side and economics, because I run more than 20 years within the City of London, a hedge fund, where the day is needed more than ever. And that's what makes me make the decision at that time, yes, I'll go and try to go to such a big decision. Now, so to go to that position, that's where the hurdles coming into
just to clarify, you're not officially running for the upcoming election in 2023.
I'm coming back to that. I'm not official, because coming back, at that time I tried to go already, but because the system is so closed shop, we are 211 associations within FIFA. And as an outsider, you can't just break in. It's very closed shop. And to nominate you, they're first afraid to do it, because the system itself can actually blackmail the association, especially the smaller associations, where depending on some of the money, you know?
And FA has to nominate you.
And never nominate you. That's the difficult part. I spoke to so many during the 6-7 years I've been around the globe with my own money, and spend my own money, do data and research on all the federations between Asia, Africa is not a big continent, but at the moment also a big problem. And I see the same problem everywhere I went. I spoke to many federations, and they felt helpless because they're relying on that FIFA money, but they can't really speak up, because either they get big blackmailed by a suspension point of view, or they will say, well, if you don't vote for me, we'll not give you the money. And that's why I'm challenging it. So when I went through these 6-7 years, I felt I have a very good program, even for the smaller federation, especially in here in Southeast Asia, where I believe here the football is very passionate. The people are wonderful here, but they've been completely ignored. They're so focused on the European side point of view. The African is completely ignored as well, but the African has a complete system. There are either from the corruption point of view, is coming into it, many ways, and I still feel the corruption has actually got worse than it was before with this leadership. And the movement to develop the football for the future is not existing. It's only about talking about how much more money, how much more games has to be done, etc. And I have a completely different manifesto where I think the system has to be changed to start with, because otherwise the football will go in a completely different direction, it will collapse. So therefore, when I went to these 77 years, a month ago, I already had more than 5 federations with me supporting, and that was a tough one. We're talking 211 federation to support you more than 5. But these guys were brave to do that because they had enough from the system that are involved at the moment. The other ones were, yeah, we're not allowed, we're not this, we are scared that the money is not coming into it. And of course, certain corruption was going into it. And I'm not going in that direction. I want to be clean about it. I want to have a proper system in place. When I come in to put my application in, this I will call a cartel, because it's a cartel system, because it's a closed shop. They tried everything to not go into the run, because they knew if I go into it, he will lose.
So they're operating in a system whereby only those within the shop can ever
Only the association as such can actually nominate you in to go in. But when I saw that suddenly I got strength, I got nominations coming into it, they got scared, especially on the top side. Dubious calls coming in already. I'm just giving you, because I can't say anything else more, but dubious calls and dubious way of dealing, because they saw, whoa, he's coming into the race. That means we're going to have an opponent. They don't want an opponent. They want an undemocratic way of the elections. Now they have it, but I tried to have a democratic. I'm an athlete. If it's not competition, what's the point to compete? Here, I can't compete with a cartel. It was corrupt. And that's the I'm challenging at the moment. So when I came to application with my lawyers, I had all my letters ready to go into it. And we knew, and my wife is part of it because she's also within more than 20 years in the football and working. We checked all the letters, if they're correct, because we knew we are going against a big cartel. They're trying to do dubious tricks that actually want to disqualify you or put you in a bad situation. Lucky through my network and everything else, we checked that one was double nomination. That means one letter was 2 nominations where you're not allowed, and one was fake. So can you imagine I put my application into it, what would be the news? So that's what I wanted, but they can't trick me.
So they were hoping you weren't thorough.
Exactly. That's what they're trying to do. But I'm telling you now here, that gives me now even more the inspiration to go for that position. And I'm giving you now here, within 4 years' time, I go back home, Zurich, that's my town, and walking into that building FIFA as a president. Because football needs more than what is now at the moment. They need a new system, a new program. The future of these kids, especially in Malaysia and all around the South Asia, they need to be given a completely different opportunity. It has to be more than a world football. It has to be global football side, and that's important. I think at the moment, we do not see that. We only see now political kind of domination, trying to do it, instead really focusing on the development of football. And the ideas that are running around now at the moment with more games coming into it, more competition, yes, it's all good, but I'm telling you that now, we're already having too many games on the pitch. So and that's a problem.
Yeah. Next World Cup, 48 teams. Is that positive or negative in your opinion?
I think it's negative. Economically, I'm sure someone is going to benefit. But I think it's negative on so many different levels. And I love what you're saying there about the opportunities for Malaysian football. As you know, I love Asian football myself.
You watched a final as well,
yeah, but I've worked in Asia, I've played in Asia, I spend a lot of time in Asia. So I fully understand what you're saying about the opportunity for Asian teams. But to have 48 teams in an elite competition is diluting the eliteness of it. You know, it's quarter of the federation.
What's the purpose of expanding it when it's operating?
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many things that are wrong with it. I understand having co-hosts, but you've got 3 3 countries, we've got issues. There'll be issues.
Logistical issues is only the beginning of it. That's number one.
Yeah. If I can quickly say it, I would. We've had a World Cup in Asia, obviously with Japan and Korea, but I think we need to have more in Asia because there's a third of the world's population in Asia to start with. And somehow, whatever system goes in place, it actually encourages an Asian nation to actually host the World Cup again. Otherwise, we end up with a Western Cup where the rest of the world is invited, and that's.
I'm glad you're saying as well, because I see the same thing. What is happening now with this leadership now is this promising of more money. And it's kind of the forefront is the capitalism kind of side. And yes, football needs investment. Let's not take the wrong side. We need investment. But we need to channel the investment in the right way, because if you're only thinking the money, it will destroy the soul of the football itself.
Has there been more focus on the money rather than actually growing the game in a healthy way?
Well, first of all, they're focusing on promising, but I don't think that the promising actually has been executed. Because I'm telling you now here, a lot of federation has not received that money that's been promised since more than 7 years now. Yes, they increased the certain amount per annum, but I'm telling you now, they've not been giving all that money, because I've been around some of the infrastructure of these federations where that money supposedly been giving. I have not seen anything. And if I look around Africa, Asia specifically as well, where I believe very much in Asia, because that's why I went around the Southeast Asia, wonderful people, they will absolutely deserve to have a better infrastructure. I'm not sure that money really filters into it, and it's focusing on this, we call it capitalism wave-driven promises, where unfortunately some of the federations, smaller one, they only can say yes because they're not strong enough. But what they don't understand, they have a power, they have 1 vote each, and they can actually do a change.
There is one other thing to this. These countries need to want to improve their football. I mean, we sit here doing the World Cup, and it's been fantastic watching games, as if everyone in the world wants to be part of it. Not every nation necessarily sees football as their dominant sport, and therefore needs to consider spending the money. I love the game, and I wish everyone felt the same way, but it isn't for FIFA to impose themselves on everybody. But if there is a nation here in Asia, wherever, that wants to do better, then they have to do better themselves as well. It's not just down to FIFA.
No, it's correct. You know, listen, football is a platform where pretty much the World Cup is one of the major assets, okay? And major assets to one the most economic revenue stream comes into, where the distribution goes to all the associations with a 4-year cycle, okay? If that 4-year cycle should be improved in a different manner, not just focusing just as one asset as the World Cup, that's what in my manifesto I have, because I can't say it here, of course, because of those I know the current one will take the copy and oh, that's my idea. I'll not give him that chance to start with. But there are so many ways to improve. And I'm talking from the small association, because the top 80, 100 associations, they're well served because I'm within the European market and they're well sponsored. But the rest, increasing the team in the World Cup, is any of the potential South Asian teams qualify for that? You know that. Most likely, no. Yes, they may have a chance, but the chances are very minimum. And they think, okay, we have potentially more money. That's what they're looking into it. The competition needs to be changed much better for the lower association to have a better competitive and more revenue stream.
I look forward to 4 years' time.
Look forward to 4 years' time. So, gents, we are running out of time, unfortunately. Just very quickly from you then, Ramon, what's the one thing, if you were in that position, what's the one thing that you would change immediately and quickly?
Well, first of all, I think the whole disaster happened with Qatar to start with, okay, and I think I heard the funding for the migrants has not been done. In terms of, for the Qatari point of view, there's not criticism with the Qatari because that's not their fault. FIFA is the owner of this World Cup license. They're the #1 responsible of giving any World Cup to anybody. Qatar has a goodwill to do this World Cup, and I think they've done a very good job in terms of how they build the stadiums out of nothing. But FIFA is responsible to set up a legacy after this World Cup. not the Qataris. The Qataris done with all their best willing and goodwill, the infrastructure, but the FIFA is the #1, has to put something together. If that fund to replace one debt is too much for building a World Cup, you need to replace at least financially these families. Because I'll tell you that now, and I've been in South Asia like yourself, I know the mentality, they work so much to make sure the family is right, and they risk their life to go all the way to Qatar to build what we're doing now here, the excitement. I think they should at least have a benefit out of a bad situation.